There was this one counselor. I was so glad when I got her squad. She taught us field hockey. I had a sort of crush on her. No. I was in love with her.
Lyanna is a film from 1983 that I found to be a surprisingly good find that looks at Lyanna, who falls in love with an older woman. However, she is married to her English college professor, has 2 kids with him, and gave up her studies to do so. 13 years later, she is a stay-at-home mum who dictates his thesis, does his research, and runs the household, while he gallivants off having affairs with young English students with impunity. It's a known issue that has caused a lot of tension in their marriage, that their children, their 13-year-old son in particular, can't help but overhear their arguments about. In an attempt to gain more personal freedom, Lyanna has started taking evening classes on child psychology taught by Professor Ruth Brennan with her best friend Sandy, even if her husband doesn't like it.
I think you've got a crush on her. What? Oh, come on, Sandy. I'm really interested in the subject. Uh-huh. For Christ's sake, I am 33 years old. I don't have crushes.
But perhaps Sandy is right. Intrigued by Ruth, she offers to be her research assistant and is invited over for dinner in order to discuss details. This is right on the heels of Lyanna discovering that her husband is once again sleeping with another of his students when she catches him in a sandbox of a backyard at a faculty party. Lyanna reaches a breaking point, so at this dinner with Ruth, she welcomes her advances and they sleep together.
When you first touched me on the couch, were you sure that I'd want...
I had a feeling.
Were you scared?
Terrified. If I had been wrong and it got around class.
Why did you take the chance?
I really wanted you. I wanted you that much.
The question is, how will she navigate this new part of her identity with her role as a mother and a wife? This film is a quiet character study first and foremost about a woman who, after having suppressed her sapphic tendencies as an adolescent, is now discovering that she is, in fact, a lesbian. She started up a relationship with her to-be husband at a time when she hardly knew herself, by her own admission.
I grew up the day after I got married.
Probably because she was impressed by his acumen as a teacher, and quite simply he showed an interest in her. However, for as good as he was as a teacher, he was equally terrible as a husband. From the first frame, he is shown to be dismissive, petulant, and spiteful towards Lyanna, creating a toxic home environment. It's clear she's also reached her limit with her situation, and so, having swiftly fallen in love with Ruth, impulsively tells him what she has done.
An affair, huh? Feel like you've gotten even?
It wasn't a man.
Huh?
I don't see what you're feeling so humorous about.
Oh, it's just different than if it had been a man.
Why? She touches me the same
I
way
don't want to hear what you did in bed, damn it.
He is at once jealous and vicious, while also being dismissive of the fact that it was a woman, suggesting that it doesn't matter in the same way as if it had been a man, which is a repeated sentiment expressed by other characters.
I mean, it's not the same as... It's different when it's women.
This is a theme that might have been more prevalent in society's thinking, but even 42 years later is still a recognizable sentiment, and this is part of what makes this film feel, in many ways, ahead of its time. That isn't to say that the film isn't also of its time. For example, the concept of a stay-at-home mother on a professor's salary with university housing hardly seems possible in today's world. The reactions by Sandy and Sandy's husband, who is wary at how a student he coached in football is gay, feels quite parochial.
I mean, he was a black kid. I didn't even know they had him that way.
However, it's an attitude that could easily be held today depending on where you live in the world. The difference is that we don't imagine these characters as speaking for all or necessarily most people anymore, or at least not in my little microcosm of the world. The way Dick, yes indeed, Lyanna's husband is aptly called Dick, reacts to infidelity is hypocritical and nasty, and alas, it's behaviour that has not gone anywhere either. He throws her out of the house, blames the breakup on her to his kids, restricts her access to the kids, at least until he realises that taking care of them is a whole lot of work he doesn't want to fully own, and threatens to stonewall her from getting her fair share of their assets in a divorce. Perhaps one way in which things have changed for the better, or at least I hope they have, as I don't know people in academia, is in how Ruth remains closeted out of fear. When Lyanna is thrown out, she hopefully asks Ruth if she can move in, but her job security would be on the line because having a woman live with her could see her fired. Her caution is, I would guess, not required today, and it is a reminder of how delicately one had to tread back then. What makes the film feel ahead of its time is how it allows its characters their morally grey behaviour. No one is truly innocent. They all have their blind spots, although Dick really is a total dick. But he, Lyanna and Ruth are all cheating. We see some domestic violence when Lyanna, in a rage, hits Dick. We see how the kids are impacted by parents who are unable to communicate in healthy ways with each other. There is Dick's casually misogynistic colleague who then hits on Lyanna after her separation, and there is an ever-present undercurrent of homophobia running throughout the film. But the film doesn't pass judgment on these behaviours and allows all characters to have their good points. This allows for some unexpected nuanced storytelling which gives it more depth than I had anticipated going into it. And Lyanna is framed as strong and unapologetic, and this makes for a likeable protagonist. She refuses to feel shame for her feelings. She owns them from the beginning, and it is not an internal struggle that she faces, but rather other people struggle with her orientation. Given the type of films I have seen from this era, it stands out to me. Her boldness in asserting her sexuality to others around her comes into sharp relief when compared to how Ruth behaves, keeping things tightly under wraps, likely because life has taught her to be cautious. And what I like is by the ending of the film, despite the setbacks, Lyanna retains this open honesty about who she is. Life has not been able to beat her down, even if it tries to. For while it becomes clear that this was so necessary for her, leaving her marriage, in many ways it is seen as an escape from a stuffy and restrictive environment and allows Lyanna's life to open up, it also has consequences. We get to see her moving out, finding a job so she can stand on her own 2 feet, fall in love and make those first forays into discovering her identity as she goes to a gay bar for the first time. All this allows her to be more herself than she has ever been, but it means living in a sad little 1-bedroom apartment, kept away from her kids, her best friend avoiding her, and living a much lonelier life. I'm heading into spoilers here, although if you want to know if she gets a happy ending, hang on for a few more moments. I would call the ending bittersweet. Ultimately, her relationship with Ruth doesn't survive. It turns out that Ruth has a lover back home with whom things are complicated, and Lyanna doesn't learn this until well into their relationship. This means that Ruth not only mirrors Dick in being a professor and sleeping with one of her students, but also in cheating on a partner. So she does end up being heartbroken by the end of the film. On the positive side, however, Lyanna does get shared custody of the kids and gets her best friend Sandy back, so it's by no means a tragedy, and we leave Lyanna in a place where she is overall in a better and more hopeful place, which I liked. Therefore, this film, while it has a love story in it, is not a film about a love story. It is a film about the courage to take those steps and be prepared to lose everything. Her relationship with Ruth is profound and meaningful for her because it is the catalyst to get her out of a life that doesn't suit her and face the things that she's buried inside. While it does mean this film doesn't have a happy ending in terms of the relationship, I also loved the journey we got to see her have and the way she boldly treads it. So from that perspective, it is a happy ending after all, especially as, in the final moments of the film, we get to see that yes, she might have lost many things, but she didn't have to lose everything in order to be who she is. I have a link to the film in the description if you'd like to see it. Until next time, lady lovers.